This is a pick that I'm going to put under the category of new wave, even though they were a little more than that. They were global superstars, and they have been eligible since 2006. This is their 20th year of eligibility. And how long can we continue to ignore them? INXS, we need to nominate you for the Rock Hall.
Yes.
And look, we love grassroots Rock Hall campaigns here at Hall Watchers, and I'd really like to give a special shout out to John, who runs the Induct INXS campaign. He does tremendous work for INXS, and it's so great to see the traction and all the attention that John and Induct INXS has brought to the band. I know the band members themselves have been acknowledging of it. It's a fantastic thing to see. And I think that's the kind of thing that needs to happen to really shine a light, on some of these artists. When we ran into John at the 2025 ceremony outside the Peacock Theater, and I said, John, I really do think they are in the pipeline. I do think this is going to happen, but it's great he's been out there really bringing attention to it, because somebody should be talking about them, and I'm going to talk about them. I think it's their time. I think it's a great year to put INXS on the ballot. And but back to the lecture at hand here, how can the Rock Hall continue to ignore these global superstars? They have the songs, they have the charisma. My God, they had Michael Hutchence.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about these great, these indelible individuals here, right? Jeff Buckley, Meatloaf, Michael Hutchence. My gosh, how can we continue to ignore and not recognize these individuals at the Rock Hall? Major, major people. On another level, it would be great to see Australia get a little bit more representation at the Rock Hall. There are other artists from Australia we could be talking about. INXS does stand out. And when I think about INXS, I think about my teenage years. I think about working at the steakhouse at the local mall and going out on a break and putting the INXS Kick album in my car and hearing Devil Inside. And that music and that album really was the soundtrack of my youth. I know it's been the soundtrack for a lot of people's lives as well. Kick hit right around the time I was 16 or 17, so INXS has a very special place in my heart personally, and I know that extrapolates out to millions worldwide. When I think about the band, it's almost like they looked at what Roxy Music did and they said, hold my beer. And they took the funk, they took the sexiness, they took the horns, and they took that suave sophistication to an irresistible mainstream level. They put their own Australian spin on it. They went on to sell 50 million albums worldwide on the strength of singles such as Don't Change, What You Need, I Need You Tonight, Never Tear Us Apart, New Sensation, and the song Suicide Blonde. Incredible stuff across the board. I don't think there's a bad INXS album. It's all fascinating. I especially have a soft spot for that really early stuff. Go back and check out some of those early albums too. You can really hear, sense that energy gathering and the style, and Hutchence coming into his own, and it just went supernova with the album Kick, of course. If inducted, the Rock Hall will have to include the founding INXS members Kirk Pengilly, Gary Beers, best name ever, and the three brothers, John, Tim, and Andre Ferris. But I would be remiss not to mention their fallen musical brother, singer Michael Hutchence, who left us in 1997, but left such a major impression. When one thinks about INXS, they naturally and correctly think of Michael Hutchence's charisma, his voice, his stage presence, but equally important is the music laid down behind him by Pengilly, Beers, and the Ferris brothers. INXS has done more than enough to earn a Rock Hall induction. I honestly think 26 is their year, and let's hope so. So INXS is my next pick.
Yeah, and I mean, you see so much of Michael's influence everywhere, and I mean, I think we're coming with some Gen X mentality today. They were so important to all of us. And I remember, I was in high school I was a senior in high school when he passed away, and it was devastating. I mean, he was sort of like our likable Jim Morrison. He was sexy like that, but he was just so charming and, kind of soft. And I also, while we're on the subject of documentaries, I encourage everyone. There's a documentary called Mystify, Michael Hutchence,
right,
about him. It came out in 2019, and it was absolutely beautiful. Really, really showed Michael, and I certainly learned things about him, and especially, towards the end, an accident he had that caused some brain damage and might have attributed to some of the later in life stuff. But it's on Netflix, and I guess it's also on Tubi, which that makes me think of Cat Williams immediately. It's both on Netflix and Tubi, so it must be important.
Seek it out. Yeah,
but
that was a few years. It almost feels pre-pandemic when that came out.
It was pre-pandemic. It was 2019. So, when you could go to a movie theater and it was a great experience.
Remember that?
But yeah, it's a really great documentary. Highly encourage all of you to seek it out. And again, here we go with another album, Kick. Listen to it. It's such a great album. And I would love to see an INXS nomination.
Yeah, and I think it would be a wonderful bookend to the band's career. They deserve it. You think about these global superstar acts, right? You think about U2, you think about Depeche Mode, and I think INXS sits right alongside of them as a major act that made such a huge splash in their time, and they were just essential.
Yeah.
The world was never the same, right. And I know I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so INXS for the Rock Hall in 2026, I would love to see them on the ballot.
Yeah, me too.
This is a pick that I'm going to put under the category of new wave, even though they were a little more than that. They were global superstars, and they have been eligible since 2006. This is